Today we're talking about returning to jiu-jitsu, returning to training after a long break, whether that's caused by life or an injury, and whether that's a really long break or even a shorter break like a week. I understand that this can be daunting and a little bit nerve-wracking. I've seen this movie several times. So today we're going to cover mindset tricks and actionable steps that you can take to get yourself back on the mats with as little worry and anxiety as possible. Just jump in. First off, I am recovering from a minor surgery that I had about a week and 2 days ago. So I underwent a vasectomy. Obviously, this is not something that you want to rush back to training, right? This is something that needs a little bit of time, not a lot of time. But with that being said, I've also undergone cervical spinal fusions, elbow surgeries, things of this nature, where I was out for a month to 2 months my spine fusion kept me out of the game for 4 months. And returning to jiu-jitsu can be daunting from that perspective. And some of you have taken years off due to life stuff, right? So I understand what it feels like. I can understand returning to jiu-jitsu feels like, oh, should I really do that? What if I get hurt again? What if I get hurt at all? So when we cover the parts of this that make us feel resistance to returning to training is the mindset aspect of this, right? There's always going to be a bit of worry. I mean, let's keep in mind, this is a martial art. It's a full contact martial art. So of course there's inherent risk involved, but how you treat it will depend on how it treats you. So in knowing that, we can kind of almost ease the mental aspect of this, right? I don't want you going back to jiu-jitsu after taking a lot of time off and slamming the gas pedal. I don't think that's the appropriate approach. I think that's a great way to get injured, especially the longer you've been away, the more dumb that is. So in worrying about that, I think that shows that you have good common sense, but there's also an ego element that you need to address before returning to jiu-jitsu. And to be honest, in order to return to jiu-jitsu, a lot of us experience some version of ego death during our training, especially in our white belt years when we get smashed a lot. Now, let's say you've got 3 or 4 years under your belt. Let's say you get up to blue or purple belt and you got to take 6 months off. You know that you're coming back rusty. And now you're worried about the lower ranks being able to tap you. This is 100% ego, right? You are starting over from scratch, essentially. You've taken a long break and now you've come back. You need to give yourself more room for grace, okay? And honestly, if you get submitted, it's only gonna help you get better. You control your submissions. You control the submissions that happen to you. You can tap as soon and as often as you need, especially when you return. It doesn't mean that you're any worse at jiu-jitsu. It just means that you got caught and that it's an opportunity to learn. I think that when we address the ego side of this, it automatically makes re-entry into jiu-jitsu a little bit easier. Ego isn't something that, at least I believe it's not something that you can snuff out completely. And I think a little bit of ego is a good thing to have in your tool belt. It provides motivation, it provides confidence, it provides drive, right? But it's something that you do have to keep under control. So your white belt years help you to chip away at the ego, to minimize it. Maybe your blue belt years too. Now you take a long break, maybe your ego goes unchecked for 6 months. And now you're thinking about returning, and now you're worrying because your ego was left unchecked for so long. I think in having awareness that this is your ego talking makes this part of the journey a little bit easier to deal with. Because if you're not aware that that's your ego, it just feels very real. And that's not how you should live your life. That's not how you should live your training or your jiu-jitsu life, right? So keeping your ego in check is going to be a big part of this. And lastly, while we're talking about mindset, is that it can feel very isolating to return to jiu-jitsu after a long break. Getting injured in jiu-jitsu can be very isolating. It can almost feel like you're the only one this happened to, right? And I can guarantee you are not the only one. But in that moment, you might be the only one at your gym who's dealing with it. And you kind of feel like you've been separated from the pack. You've been separated from the herd. And if that goes on long enough, you can almost have these feelings of like, well, why would I jump back in now? Like, I'm already so far gone. Why would I ever come back? This is so inaccurate, right? I can guarantee you that your training partners are like, hey, have you heard from so-and-so? Hey, have you spoke to so-and-so? How's he doing? How's she doing? Right? Some of your really good training partners might even reach out to you and text you. But if you're relatively new, you haven't built up really good friendships yet, I can still almost guarantee that people are going to be wondering where you're at. They're going to be wondering how you're doing. Even if they don't have your phone number, they don't follow you on social media, they don't really have a way to reach out, they care. And they're hoping that you do better. So try not to let that feeling of isolation and aloneness affect you too deeply, because it feels alone, it feels isolating, but you're not. You're truly not. Now, if you are someone who's been able to keep your ego in check during your downtime, and re-entry is something you're nervous about because you were injured and you're worried about getting injured again, I think that this is a legitimate worry, but there are things you can do to mitigate. And that's where we're going to talk about the actionable steps moving forward. Like I said before, you have control over your submissions and the submissions that you tap to. If you need to tap early and often, especially in compromising situations or situations you don't understand, a lot of new people don't understand leg lock scenarios. Yeah, just tap. It's not worth trying to act tough or look cool, all of which is ego driven, right? It's just not worth it. So if you don't understand a position, you can tap, but you also can control the pace of your training. And what I would recommend is re-entry into jiu-jitsu and only focus maybe on the drills or the games that are being played, not going 100% intensity, not even 90%. I would keep it 40 to 50% intensity depending on what you're recovering from. Now, me being that I'm recovering from a vasectomy, I can't really push it at all. This was, 9 days ago that I had the operation. The doctor said I could start training at a simple, easy pace at around the 7-day mark. So I'm certainly not sparring and doing positional sparring. I'm certainly not training really hard, getting hard reps, fast reps like I'm preparing for a competition. This is something that I'm going to be nice and easy about, right? I'm going to be training at a lower intensity with training partners I really trust. I'm certainly not trying to go with the D1 wrestler who's a white belt, right? I want to go with purple belts, brown belts, black belts, people that I know who will take care of me when I need it, right? So I think in being very choosy with your training partners, keeping the intensity at a very respectable level, both of these things can really minimize the existence of re-injuring old injuries or even causing new injuries. Now, as you start to knock the rust off and you start to become acclimated to your training environment and the training pace and the intensity, you can start to increase these things, right? Your intensity, maybe you start sparring again, but right away upon re-entry, I'm taking it easy. This is exactly what I did after my neck surgery. This is exactly what I did after my elbow surgery. And it's exactly what I'm doing right now after the vasectomy. So I think if you have a good control, which you do, over your training intensity, you keep your mind right, keep your ego in check, you can enter into jiu-jitsu by not only minimizing physical risk, but also minimizing the anxiety that comes with that. It's always one foot in front of the other, right? Get yourself to the gym, get yourself inside, get yourself to move around a little bit, nice light training, light drilling, whatever it may be, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Take it at your own pace. There's no pressure to overextend yourself. So if you've ever had to take a long break from jiu-jitsu, whether it was life or injury related, and you re-entered, you're actually one of the ones that made it back, drop some knowledge in the comments. What helped you? What did you do to get yourself back in the gym? So many people struggle with this one. So many people. So if you guys have any knowledge to share there, we all appreciate it. I know I do. So I should be getting back to probably a bit more of an intense training schedule by next week, maybe even the week after. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to get back to it. Am I a little bit rusty from a week off? Not really. My cardio took a little bit of a hit for sure, but I'll be fine. It's just a matter of getting back in, keeping the ego in check, like we talked about, and it'll all be good. So with that, you know how we like to end them. Sometimes backwards, always forwards. I'll see you in the next one.